2. This is March 12th today. It's the day that the clocks were all turned ahead for daylight saving time here in North America. Verse 3 of Isaiah 12. Vav Shin Aleph Bet Tav Mem, hyphenated with the word Mayim, water, Mem Yod Mem. Well, Shin Aleph Bet Tav. Well, Tav Mem, for whatever reason, I found it's easier to start with the suffix. Just because, start reading the back end and move towards. So Tav Mem basically is the suffix third person plural there, T-H-E-I-R. Them, multiple of third person, those guys. Bet Tav is the word for daughter, or a village under the authority of a city with its own autonomy, so it's subject to some other greater authority. Shabbat, for example, Shin Bet Tav. Well, if Shin is the monogram of El Shaddai and Bet Tav means daughter, then Shabbat, you might say the daughter of El Shaddai. Well, Shin Bet, sit, remain, dwell. So the daughter of El Shaddai who dwells under his protective wings of covering is allowed to sit down on Shabbat and listen to no other voice of authority, no other employer, no other boss, no other mandate. If you're the daughter of El Shaddai, well, gee, that's like the daughter of Jerusalem or the daughter of Zion. That's not this word. It's Bet Tav, but I'm saying that's just one way to read it in the word Shabbat. But this is Aleph Bet. If you look at Aleph Bet, it's the word for father, but it's also the word for verdure, youth, and desire, Ab. And if you duplicate the second letter and make it the third, like we've talked about doing, which is the Hebraic structure of the grammatical syntax, the way the language works, look at Aleph Bet Bet. That's the word Abab. Aleph Bet Yod Bet is a Bib, and the Bet is pronounced as a V in vernacular. So it's Aviv, A-V-I-V. Have you heard of the word Aviv? It's right now. It's the time, the month of Aviv. And what he said was, at the month of Aviv, guard the month of Aviv. And on the 14th day of that first month of the year, this is Yahuwah's kingdom calendar. The first month of the year is Aviv, springtime. The gate, Bet is a gateway, like Bet Lamed, Babel. Bet Lamed is nothingness and vain and void. So it's like the confusion, the gateway of confusion is Babel, but the Aviv, the gateway of Aleph Bet. Aviv, Aleph Bet, Aleph Bet Yod Bet. Aleph Bet is the father. It's also this desire of the father. I want a family, or I want a household, I want an empire, I want a kingdom, I want a people. I have big plans. I've got these ideas that I want to implement on the face of the earth. That's why I built the universe. That's why everything. So deists in the days of the 1700s, Thomas Jefferson and his ilk, it's been said, who knows, but it's been said they were deists. Deity, that means they believe in God, but they believed that he built the world, spun it, and said, whoa, hands off, I'm just going to sit here and watch. I'm just going to be entertained by what those little bugs are doing on the surface, like watching an ant farm or watching fish in a bowl. That's what the deists believe that the creator of the universe is doing with human history played out in front of them. Hey, look what they're doing now. I hope they do this. Oh, no, look what they did. Or whatever. It's just as entertainment. Disengaged, really. Why did they think that? By observing history. Oh, yeah, but we just read that his countenance and his engagement did change and will change back. Yod Shin Bet Aleph Pei Kaf. Why? Well, when we mention his name. Oh, so the mentioning, the audio declaring of his name is some kind of effective tool. Now, an effective tool which you engage in warfare is called a weapon. And you can have ships and trucks and tanks and airplanes and guns and knives, and those are all weapons. But This isn't any of those. This is something, though, which causes an effect, which gives us victory. And the word Yeshua, salvation, deliverance, also means victory. So it's a military term, Yeshua. Cry for help is, hey, we're getting whacked here. Would you please step in and assist? Well, if you trust securely and don't have any dread of your adversary, then boldly, dynamically coming in and, like trimming a tree, singing what? Well, my wife has coined this little phrase, the Paleo Songbird girl, sing the solution. Sing the solution. That's right. Project in your mind a mental image of rejoicing, or what it would look like if the solution had manifested. What would it look like? Yeah, sing about that. Put that into lyrical tune, melody, and sing that vision. That's what he's saying. And then verse 3, Sheen Aleph Bet. Sheen is a prefix letter that means on the condition, or that which belongs to Aleph Bet. Tav Mem, that which is, see, the word Ab is not just father or to have this desire, but it's to have a passion towards. And so it also means to refuse energetically. That's the benefit of looking in the dictionary. Just look at Aleph Bet. Look at Aleph Bet Bet. Springtime, when things are busting out, I can look out here and see little tender edges of the branches, and there's colors, there's pink and green and yellow, and all the daffodils are coming out, and it's like, oh boy. But friend Ben, hey Ben Reed up in Saskatchewan, he's got 6 feet deep of snow and plowing tunnels that he can maneuver. It's like different still today, but yet his whole world is a different look than mine. If I can envision the Father's desire bursting forth like springtime, then I can sing about that, rejoicing. But the word in the condition of the Father's desire for his daughter, Sheen of Aleph Bet, for the Bet Tav, and then the word Mayim, water. Well, the word Sheen Aleph Bet means to draw water from a pump.
Eric, what verse are you in?
This is verse 3 of Isaiah 12.
The second word, or after the hyphen, right?
Word. First word, still on the first word. Sheen, Vav, Sheen, Aleph Bet, Tav, Mem, hyphenated with Mem, Yod, Mem. So in the dictionary, it says to draw water, to be pumped, but also drawn to the end, exhausted, or attracting, like a pump of water. It doesn't say a spring of water, it's pumping water. You bring a fire truck in, which has a big pump, and it pulls the water out of a lake to blast it across the landscape to put out a wildfire. You got a fire hydrant, that's pumped under pressure from somewhere else in the city, and it seems like an inexhaustible, endless supply, but this means drawn to the end, to be completely exhausted. Water. Well, that means that pump is going like crazy, as if there's a serious mission and that pump is using all possible resources to accomplish the task. He's talking about the act of us singing, Zimmer, with a shape, like crafting a song or trimming a tree, according to the vision of our salvation, being saved and rescued by Yahuwah. It's like the Dudley Do-Right, that cartoon with Rocky and Bullwinkle, and the Snidely Whiplash, the dastardly villain tying the young maiden to the railroad tracks. And she's screaming and crying, but what if she was rejoicing and expressing her vision of being saved by Dudley Do-Right? I mean, that was a cartoon back in the 60s. And it's like, what? If you're being tied down and tortured, how can you sing a solution of salvation? If we do, it's like drawing water with a pump. The next word, bet, shin, shin, vav, nun, shashon. Shin, shin is white or rejoice. We talked about she'll be riding 6 white horses. When she comes, is like the Sabbath day coming in on 6 days of the week. Shin, shin, 6, rejoice, white, shashon, shoshana, joy, exultation, and bet prefix means likewise or just in that condition, with that being done. With what being done? Pumping water from a well, exhausting everything that's potential. Then the next word, mem, ayin, yod, nun, yod. Well, ayin, yod, nun, yod is the word for eyes. If you look it up in the dictionary, ayin means to look, consider, evaluate, weigh carefully, balance exactly. You better do this right. You better be just perfect scales of balance. Mem is the prefix meaning determining, or this is the time and place and the action of ayin yod nun. But if you look at ayin nun hey, which is the operative verb of Isaiah 58, Day of Atonement, fast. But it also means answer, reply, respond. It's the occupation, and it means to sing. Aleph nun hey. So ayin yod nun is a derivative of ayin nun hey, which means the occupation. So mem, the prefix means this is the tool, the place, the time, the occupation of answer is according to the balance scales. Remember, balance scales of mishpat, the teeter-totter. Whatever you put on this side determines how it's going to tip. Whatever you put in your side is what's going to make it happen. You ever see one of those things at a carnival where they've got a big tower and you hit the lever with a sledgehammer and boom, goes up and you try to ring the bell, and if you can heave ho and smack that thing real hard, you ring the bell, and if you're not very strong, you go poof, and the thing might come. It's that kind of a thing. With the effort of your calculated consideration that you express the promise of his salvation. See, the last word there in verse 3 is hey yod shin vav ayin hey. Hey yod is the manifest of he will answer your cry for help, your shua, hey, as it was expressed. Is your cry for help in despair? Is your cry for help in doubt? Is your cry for help thinking there's no way, he's just not going to do it? He doesn't. Like there was a book that I read once years ago. It's like, yeah, but what about those who aren't healed? Yeah, oh yeah, he said you can heal the sick. You said you can raise the dead, but a lot of people still aren't healed. What about them? What about us? What about that? Somehow this doesn't give any allowance for that. Somehow this is almost saying we've got to trick our own eyes seeing reality to project in song the reality of what his words said according to his covenant. Based on what he said he was going to do. Well, that's going back to what is his name, Yod Hey Vav Hey. It's not just how you pronounce the mystical 4-letter tetragrammaton. What's it mean? The omnipotent, eternal creator of all things who causes himself to exist. Really? Is it those 4 things? Or is it, I am your Elohim and you are my people. I will forgive you and pour out gratuitous favor for you. Why will you forgive me? If you repent, if you turn around, if you quit doing your wickedness, if you listen to my voice, if you guard my instructions, and if you walk in my ways. Yeah, but what about, hey, listen, he's set up a whole legal structure and framework, which may have included Yeshua coming here and dying on the cross, but he doesn't even need to explain all that to us. He's got that covered. Trust his character. Trust the plan. Trust the fact that he set it up, he arranged it, and what he wants us to do is call on his name, believing that his name includes everything necessary. Did the thief on the cross next to Yeshua have to know any doctrines? Did he have to keep any Sabbath days? Did he have to have the right calendar? Did he have to know how to pronounce the mystical 4 letters properly? He just said, remember me, please. Okay, you got it. What? That's right, a cry from the heart. Verse 4 starts off the same as verse 1. Vayomer Tom, only see this is a Tav Mem, which is Their, there, and they will declare Bayom Hahua on that same day. This is what they, whoever they is, are going to be saying. Hodu la Yahuwah. Give thanks, praise, reverberating glory, honor, and confessing our own sins, our own failings, our own confusion. But give thanks and praise unto Yahweh. Why? Why? Ki tov ki leolam hazo is in Psalms 136 and various other places. But here it says, crow, crow, crow. Oh, is that like C-R-O-W? Is that like the blackbird? Kufresh Aleph Vav. Kufresh Aleph, as we've said, means he taught to read. Bashamo, the condition of Shin Mem, name his. He taught to read what his name means. He taught us to read. That's his name. That's exactly what Kurt opened up today's talk about. What have you gotten out of learning to read? Right here. Hodula Yuah Crow Bashmo. Hey Vav, Dalit Yod Ayin Vav. Dalit Ayin is knowledge. Dalit Yod Ayin. Making something known, making an announcement, announcing Bet Ayin Mem Yod Mem. Well, Ayin Mem is people, kinsmen. Ayin Mem Mem, we talked last week, something has been obscured, and then he brings the peoples together that had been alienated to inclusively. Bet is the conditional prefix. People that had been blinded and obscured and at odds with each other are brought together, kind of like this collection of these various birds in the colors of rejoicing. Why? Because he's made known his Shem, his name, what it means, his nature, and the condition of his attitude, the cause and effect of everything that has provoked human history to read such as it has, by teaching us to read. The next word, Ayin Lamed Yod Lamed Tav Yod Vav. Last letter Vav means his. The next letter Yod means my. Tav Yod means I will or I will have. Ayin Lamed Yod Lamed, if you look that up in the dictionary, it means deed, act, scene, like the scene of a movie, a narrative, plot in a play. Really, openly, clearly, plot, action, pretext, and also false accusation, which means what's the reality? Fake news here, real storyline there. But Ayin Lamed Yod, Ali, Eli means to elevate, promote, or success. Raised up. Ayin Lamed Lamed. You could drop the Yod and the Vav in there. There's another way to read that. I didn't look at that word here. I don't have it off the cuff. But what I'm saying is Ayin Lamed. There's a plot developing in the narrative of the scripture that he teaches us to read. And it tells us why we've failed. And if we confess our sin, he's faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. That's a scripture verse. And to lift us up to the capacity that was intended for Israel being his Kadoshi. Hazakiru. The Hey Zayin Kaf Yod Resh Vav, the Shem Zakar, the masculine seed planting tool, Zakar. Remember, commemorate, recall, stick in your mind, get stuck there. Yod Vav is going to get stuck in your mind, and you can't get out, like getting a burr or a porcupine quill out of your skin, a burr out of your socks. That's the word Zakar. He gave us his Shem Zakar, Exodus 3 at the burning bush. This is going to stick in your mind, and you're not going to get rid of it. Oh, yeah, well, we'll get rid of it. We'll call him Hashem, Lord and God. We'll say that his name is exalted, but we won't tell you what his name is that's exalted, nor will we exalt it. This is the verse 4. He for thus, again, there's that fulcrum, Nun Shin Gimel Bet, Shemo, his name. Because his name is, or then his name will be, if we remember to make known what we are reading and give him praise and thanks, then what we'll set up, Shin Gimel Bet, Shagiv, Nashagiv, means very strong, very high, inaccessibly high. It's like that story of the fairy tale of Rapunzel. You picture this big, tall tower, and hey, Rapunzel, oh, I'm just stuck in a tower. I'm trapped. You know, hey, let down your hair. She's growing her hair, and the guy climbs up and runs off with her. It's like, what? That's right. Israel is put in a high tower, so inaccessibly high that no enemy can accost, to deceive, to pillage, to compromise Israel. But it's his name. Lofty, exalted, great. His name is this high tower. So in the book of Joel, whoever calls on the name Yahuwah will be saved. Didn't say whoever asks Jesus in your heart will be saved. Whoever calls on the name of Yahuwah will be saved. What's the difference? One's mentioning his name, one's mentioning a different name. One is his instruction, the other one is somebody else's story. So the question is, what are the rules of the game? Learn to read that his name being made known will take people that were otherwise scattered, like this flock of 12 birds that are each going some different place. Zephaniah 3:9, he will restore a pure language, a clean lip, so that they can all serve, Obed. They can all worship Yahuwah with Shechem Achad, one shoulder, like a whole bunch of guys saying, ready, let's pick up this big heavy beam, you know, and carrying it. You have to be walking together. So when remember his name in reality, that's what's going to happen. Okay, verse 5. Sing it, Zamaro, Zamru, Yahuwah. Sing what? Yahuwah. Sing what he said he was going to do. Yod He Vav He. Then here's this Kaf Yod, Ki again. Because then, when, while, so, thus, accordingly, Kaf Yod, Gimel Aleph Vav Tav. Well, Gimel Aleph Vav Tav as a word means Gimel Aleph Vav is lifted and exalted, which is a synonym with Ayin Lamed Yod. Praiseworthy, raised up, arrogant, glory, excellence. Gimel Aleph Vav Nun. Again, you change the suffix just to get a feel for it. You're looking in the dictionary, the benefit of doing that. It means genius, rising tide when the ocean level fills up. Majesty, glory, excellence. But Gimel Aleph Vav Tav, Vav Plav is a suffix, plural. Gimel Aleph, and if you know that Aleph is kind of like this neutral suffix, put Gimel Hey or Gimel Vav, feminine suffix, masculine suffix, and you get Hey Gimel Hey. I'm just saying that's, you hunt this stuff down. Haggah means navigate, ponder, meditate, oath, agreement, spelling words phonetically. Learn how to spell words. Goes back to Kuf Resh Aleph in verse 4. Teach to read. Learn how to read, and like the tide filling up, the ocean tide, the majesty and glory, the praiseworthy regard of Yahuwah gets filled up. Asha, doing. Ayin Shin Hey is to do, cause, make, produce. It's a forceful, it's a pressing, squeezing, it's a catalyst, it's a causal agent. So when we sing Yahuwah, that is itself what starts filling up. This goes back to like drawing water, like a pump Well, the moon, with, as they describe to us, the gravitational forces of pulling the tide of the ocean towards this side so that the waters rise up. Well, that means on the other side of the earth, they're going down. That's playing off of this word here. If there's a limited number of resources, then the resources move around or shift around. And he's telling us, singing, rejoicing, declaring his Shem as he's taught us to read, and making known the storyline, the narrative of being his people, causing his face to be gruff and angry because we don't listen to him and walk in his ways, but then we repent, Jeremiah 31, and we come back around, like the prodigal son story of Ephraim coming home, and we start doing what he said, listening to his voice and expecting him to live up to his words. Everything changes, and he'll take the ocean waters and shift them to the other side of the planet like pumping water. Mem, Yod, Dalet, Ayin, Tav. That's, Mem is the making known. So this is the announcement or proclaiming this, Zion Aleph Tav, Bekal Haaretz, in the entire earth. How are you going to make this known in all the earth? Mem, Yod, Dalet, Ayin is to make known. Yada, Yod, Dalet, Ayin is to know, K-N-O-W. Similar word, what I have down here on the page is Mem, Yod, Ayin, Dalet. Well, Mem, Vav, Ayin, Dalet, Moed is the witness and testimony. So interesting that Dalet, Ayin, and Ayin, Dalet, same two letters, were in reverse order. One is the witness and testimony, and the other one is knowledge or to make known. They're kind of the same thing, shifting the two letters around. So why does he give us 7 Moedim? Why does he give us the Sabbath day in Leviticus 23? Because those are the witnesses that they testify of his identity. The 7 Moedim and the Sabbath day make clear who it is you're referring to. This is Yahuwah. He told us to keep these days. He told us to stop work and rest and gather together and eat and sing on these particular occasions for his name's sake. So the Mem, Yod, Ayin, Dalet literally means designated, envisaged, and intended. Well, who's doing that? Yahuwah, because he's the guy that had the vision, has the vision, retains the vision. He's the guy who intended, that's the meaning of the word Aleph, and designed, designated. That's putting Zadi Vav Resh or Yod Zadi Resh Yitzar, the creator, the illustrator. He's the guy that built everything, Mishkan pattern, Tabanit, design, structure, Samic, engineered structure, shape of the menorah. He's the guy that built this thing in a very specific way. And he's embedded his name as what's testified to when we walk, keeping his Moedim, by not walking, by sitting down on his days. And when we do that, it is the sump pump. It is the pull of the moon to pull the entire tide waters, tipping the scales of anything else happening on the face of the earth. Last verse. Zadi He Lamed Yod. Zadi He Lamed is shining, shout, joyful, rejoicing, elated, made bright. Vav Resh Nun Yod. Resh Nun is where you get the word run or ringing cry, shout of joy, Ronan. I knew a guy whose last name was Ronander. That was same word, ran. Vav or Yod Vav Shin Bet Tav. Hey, there's that Shin Bet Tav. That's why I mentioned it earlier. Shabbat. He will Shabbat. The word Shabbat means return, dwell, or take captive, or one who returns. Zion. Zion. Oh, but it means more than that. We'll look at that in a second. Kaf Yod. Okay, now here's this fulcrum again. Gedol ba kravo, kraveka, Qedosh Yisrael. Because great, Gadol It means majestic, festooned, ribboned, braided, tasseled. It's like the party day of great grandeur, like setting something up for a wedding or setting something up for New Year's or something. It's like, how do you do go all out with all your decorations? That's Gadol. Braided hair, tasseled ribbons, fireworks, whatever you can do to make this great, Gadol or Gadil, Gimel Dalet Lamed, Gimel Dalet Vav Lamed, Gimel Dalet Yod Lamed. Bet, prefix in the condition of Kuf Resh Bet. That means in the midst, or to draw near, Kaf, you, so it's translated in your midst, Qedosh Yisrael. Qedosh Yisrael. Does it mean the Kadosh one of Israel? It doesn't say that. It doesn't say the, and it doesn't say of. Or does it mean when Israel is in the condition of being Kadosh? Well, what's Kadosh? Holy, sacred, saintly. It's also a martyr. It means cleaning. It means purification. Just so you know, we're up against Pesach happening. Some people it's already happened. Some people it's about to happen. Some people a month out. But Kiddush is a ceremonial prayer over the bread and the wine, or a sacred meal. Same word, Kiddush. Kuf Dalet Shin, Kuf Dalet Vav Shin here. So what's it saying? Qedosh Israel could mean that when Israel is acting, being, not just acting, but of the heart, consecrated, dedicated, betrothed, set apart, as appointed. These are all dictionary meanings of the word kadosh. A sacred object, ritually exclusive use. Certain plates and dishes and cups that you only use on a holy day, holiday, festival day. Devoted, prohibited. These are only things that your spouse uses or wears, nobody else. Don't touch that. That's my spouse's. Devoted, prohibited. Very similar to Tav Chet Mem Vav Dalet, which means desired. Tav Chet Mem Tacham is defined, bordered, or boundary. So he's given us certain boundaries. Do this, don't do that. You cross the boundary, you're an infidel, you're a heretic, you're no longer part of his people, you're cut off. Okay, let's look at this verse. Shout, joyful, rejoicing, elated, ringing cry. He will Shabbat Zion. He will, Yod prefix, he will Shabbat Zion. He will return, he will take captive Zion. What's Zion? Zadi Yod Vav Nun. Well, Vav Nun is one engaged in the action of what? Zadi Yod. But if you look at Zadi Yod in the dictionary, and it means a desert dweller. It means a ship. But if you look at the phrasing of this, it's shining, rejoicing, ringing cry. Okay, that's an action. Vav Yod Shin Bet Tav Zion. Dwell Zion. Okay, then here's the fulcrum. Great, majestic, in your midst, Qedosh Israel. It's disjointed. There's something wrong. So if we look at Bet Kufresh Bet Kufresh, well, that's the word boker, as in mourning, as in putting a plow in the earth with cattle and ripping it open and causing a furrow. It also means to abandon. Like this side leaves that side. He talked about bringing people together, but this word boker is to separate things. To be kadosh is separate, to be set apart, to be sacred, to be not fit for normal common use, but for special use. But boker also means examine thoroughly, review, a critic, a censor. Bakar, it's where we get the word buckaroo, cattle, cowboy. Bet kuf, and then if you start looking in the dictionary, bet kuf, kuf resh, resh bet, and bet kaf. In your midst, Qedosh Israel. The Holy One is in your midst? Doesn't say that. What will make the great in your midst? If you look at Bet Kuf Aleph, it means become an expert. Bet Kuf Hey is gnat or bed bug, like nitpicking. Become an expert at what? We were talking about learning how to read. remembering his name by learning how to read. That's something you can become an expert at. Bet kuf yod, learned, skilled. Bet kuf yod aleph vav tav, expertness, skill, and proficiency. And if you look at kuf resh, cold or chill, kuf resh hey, encounter, meet, occur, happen, something good, perchance, lay beams, cover, roof, pleasure, satisfaction, as well. You also really get kuf resh aleph, learn how to read, kuf resh vav yod, a person called up to read the Torah, to put a beams on your roof so that you can have a covering, to cover over an open boat and make it a ship. Kuf resh vav nun, where you get the word Quran to learn how to read, also is where you get the word cart, car, or carriage, or a rail car, a train moving. Yod kuf resh, precious, dear, costly, rare, honor, prestige, dignity, raised in price, yikur. So if you look at the first word of Leviticus 1, vayikra, vav, yod, kuf resh, aleph, and there's a little tiny aleph. It's one of those jots and tittles. They've reduced the side of the letter aleph, so it's vav, yod, kuf resh, aleph. Why did they do that? My conjecture is, well, kuf resh aleph, learn how to read, call, invite, learn how to read. But what if you don't look at the aleph, you look at yod kuf resh, it means precious, dear, costly, rare, a special treasure. Not so common, that's never been had access to by most people on the face of the earth. And as you're looking at bet kuf resh in the dictionary, you look at bet kuf shin, it's the very next entry in the dictionary, and it means ask, quest, search, intend, aim, summon, request, entreaty, wish, desire. Hey, wish, desire, that's a synonym with aleph bet, as in shin aleph bet, as in pumping water. Ask, seek, and knock. Well, that's Yeshua said, you don't have because you don't ask. And ask, seek, knock. It'll be opened. It'll be answered. You'll find. You have to personally put this inner source proactive self-motivation driving, and the related word is bet kuf shin yod shin, which is to leave a tip. In other words, we're not going to tell you that you have to do this. We're not going to charge you. Well, some restaurants do. Well, it's voluntary. It's nadab. It's philanthropy. You, by your own inner motivation, must do this. That's bet kuf shin. And so what I'm saying is bet kuf resh, bet kuf shin. You look at the related words, and it'll give you this sense of what's happening. So what's happening? Shout, rejoicing, ringing cry, Shabbat zone. Then Gadol Bekrav Ka Qedosh Yisrael. The Qedoshness of Israel will be learned when you ringing cry and Shabbat Zion. So it looks like Vav Yod, Shin Bet Tav Zion is these two words right in the middle, which are this active force that then Kaf Yod sets up the result, which is for Israel to end up being Kadosh as a learned, skilled expert. So what does Vav Yod Shin Bet Tav Zion? Now I've got this whole page. We're running out of time, and I'm not going to be able to go through the whole thing. Boy, it doesn't show up. Anyway, the camera's acting weird. Zadi Yod Vav Nun. Well, Zadi Yod is a navy or ship, but Zadi Vav is command. So Zadi Yod.
Hey, Eric, what page are you on anyway?
This is page 3. I'm just looking at the two middle words of Isaiah 12:6. So Zadi Yod. Well, what's a Zadi? Well, it's a command. It's a sprout. Some people say it's a hunter. I can appropriate it by the Mishkan pattern to say it's a resurrection. It's a blossoming. Mem Zadi Yod. Now, there's a way to read the dictionary and put other prefixes and suffixes. And I'm just saying, this is how you use the dictionary. Put the mem prefix in front of Zadi Yod, and it means finding, discovery, or woohoo! Hey, look, a cheap bargain. Look what I got. Learning to read the Hebrew is a cheap bargain, I'll tell you that. Mem Zadi Yod Aleph Vav Tav means existence, essence, reality, and actuality. Well, guess what? Aleph Vav Tav as a word, this is just the suffix, means oath, agreement, sign, or symbol, or letter of the alphabet. So to find the discovery of the meaning of Yahuwah's personal oath, which is the essence of his name. When he says it, it has to happen. That is the essence of his name. And guess what? It's in every letter of the alphabet. And to find that that is the definition of existence, essence, reality, and actuality. He will cause it to exist. That's the meaning of his name. So the meaning of his name is embedded in Mem Zadi Yod Aleph Vav Tav. That he commands the resurrection, the blossoming. Well, that's not just Yeshua coming out of the grave, Pei Zadi. That's Israel coming back in as his betrothed Kadoshi, turning his countenance from wrath to Nacham, warm favor. That's the reality. And all we have of history is the big, ugly, mean, nasty God of the Old Testament that everybody loves to hate because he's such a jerk. He's only that way because we wouldn't listen to his voice and walk in his ways and walk in truth and kindness with each other. That was the terms of the agreement. Go back and look at the Debar. Mem Zadi Yod He, draining, pressing, squeezing, the word for matzah. So when he tells us the 14th day of the first month, depending on when the first month is, the month of Aviv, have the Pesach meal, and then for 1 week, get all the leaven out of your house. Don't let any leavening. Oh, gee, is that yeast? Is that baking soda? Is that bread? Is that, oh gosh, now we got to figure that out. That's right. Figure it out. Get rid of all the matzah or leavening and eat matzah bread. It means find out how to do something. The word matzah literally means find reality. Learn to read. And then he gave us not just theory, but actual action. Actual action. See the same English word root. Eat matzah instead of bread. Eat unleavened bread for a week. Get all the leavening out of your house. Give it to your neighbors. Feed the birds. Whatever you have to do. And it's coming up real soon. The 14th day is Pesach. The 15th, for 7 days, is the festival of unleavened bread. And if you got the wrong calendar, just pick a calendar. You're running out of time here. Pick a calendar and do it. There's something about doing, walking in his ways. Mem Zadi Yod Tav. We're talking about Mem Zadi Vav Nun, or Zadi Yod Vav Nun, Zion. Mem Zadi is just a prefix, one who, the time which, the tool by which you can do his commands. He gave us something to do, so do it. Sit down on Shabbat and eat unleavened bread for a week. Why? Because he said so. What is Zion? Somebody doing what he said because you've joined the team. You've manned the crew. Zadi Vav Tav, to kindle, to light a fire, means to listen, join, follow, man the crew, team up. It's to become his Ayin Mem. So when he says, I'm going to be your Elohim, you're going to be my Ayin Mem Yod, my people. My people doing what? Zadi Vav Tav, follow the command instructions like a crew of Navy sailors on a ship, like the fleet of Zavot, and he being Ani Yahuwah, the admiral of the fleet. All these words play in. Zadi Yod. Zadi Lamed Bet Hey means to set the heart ablaze. Why did I write that? Because Zadi Vav Tav means to kindle or to light the fire, to listen. It's teaching his words, encouraging each other to look at his words and discussing what we've found is what lights the heart ablaze, that gets us to re-listen and gets the whole thing going. And he just said, this whole thing's going to be sitting dead in the water. And a type of pump, they've got these great new inventions, which is just a water pump. And it shoots it out like a jet with such force on a hose that you can put this thing on and fly over a lake, just sucking up water and shooting water out. Every action has equal opposite reaction. It's that type of a thing. It doesn't have to be an internal combustion engine, but it's a type of Ayin Shin Hey engine force to rejoice and walk in his ways. Shabbat. So the Shabbat isn't just the seventh day of the week, but his Shabbat, Shabbaton are the extra special days set apart for his daughter, Shin Bet Tav. Leviticus 23. Shin Bet Tav, Vav Yod Shin Bet Tav, resident, inhabit, populate, dwell, remain, stay, settled, explained, and set the mind at ease. Shin Bet, Yod Vav Shin Bet, Yeshuv. Oh, that's what he means. That's the same word as Shabbat, root word, to explain and set the mind at ease. Well, that's also a synonym with Shin Pei He, the word for his language of Hebrew. Learn to read his language. It'll set the mind at ease. Unless you listen to the news source medias, which have a different voice. Shin Nun He, variant teeth of agitation and biting and chewing. Zadi Het, dazzling, glowing, bright, clear, pure. Zach. Yitz Chak, Zadi Het, Kuf. Yod Zadi Het, Kuf. Laughter, sport, mock, just play, deriding. Zadi Yod, dry ground, ship, boat, fleet, navy, nautical. Nautical. Navigating. Hey, Gimel, hey. I did this whole thing written up here with the word for navigation, Nun Vav Tet. Nun Vav Tet Resh. Watchman, guard, a vindictive person, somebody who holds a grudge, clerk, notary, clergy. A sailor steering navigation is one who knows how to read. If he's the admiral of the fleet and we man the crew, we join the colors, gotta learn how to read to keep his instructions, keep his commands. And then when we talk about it, oh, that becomes Talmud. Het Kuf, something prescribed, written, an enactment, law, rule. Well, that's what he commanded. So what did he command? Zadi Vav? The Chok, Het Kuf. That's law, that's commandment, that's do what he said. It also means to be written in stone, and it means to imitate. Chet Vav Kuf is a rung on a ladder. It's the prescribed portion due, obligation, responsibility, necessity, custom, constitution. It's the word legal. It's the word khaki in color, like a dusty gray cloth. Chet Kuf He, engrave, imitate, to draw a line, to carve an image as imagined. These are all related words. If you start looking at synonyms using the dictionary and concepts that play into it, to burn and kindle, Chet Resh Vav Tav in the plural, means freedom, and it's also the word for palm branch. So what does it mean, palm branches? Why do they lay down palm branches on Palm Sunday? It means freedom and liberty. Anyway, we're running out of time. I could go more about this, but I'm going to open this up to you guys. I didn't even touch page 4, but I'm just trying to say that if we listen to his voice by reading his words, it's Kaf Yod. On page 4 here, I have a little graphic symbol of Kaf Yod. For what it's worth, turnip shape, make tasty, spicy, twisting motion, turn aside, grasp. It's this force of grabbing and make it. It's like putting a key and then turning it. The word key, mem, petav, chet, we talked about before. Index, taking the armor off. Developer, engraving, a place of law. He's given us to walk in his ways as a tool, a weapon, a force to change things. When you listen to what the World Economic Forum is saying they're going to do, imminently, pretty close, changing humanity, changing the money system, changing everything, the whole bunch of stuff you can look at with other voices. I'm just saying, they do not take into account that Yahweh gave his people a promise. And there's a verse, forget where it is, Isaiah, I think somewhere, where Yahweh says, the what is it, the whore Babylon, or somebody just sits in and says, hey, it's just me, no others, I got no contenders, I win, I'm the queen, I can do whatever I want. And then Yahweh says, oh yeah, but you forgot that I promised my people a future. How do we implement the future? Goes back to verse 1. Declare his name, make known who he is. Well, you got to know who he is and what he said if you're going to make known, and it's all in the writing. By navigating as a man of his crew, a sailor on his ship, that's the Shabbat Zion. Explain, set the mind at ease, that his commandments are effective, that he exists, even though all those other voices we hear have no account and no regard of him. This is a secret weapon that they're not even going to see coming. They don't even seem to know or care because they think it's all betlamed, nonsense, foolishness. Well, we need to sing the truth of his name, of his reality. That's the operation of the secret weapon. Okay, anyway, back to you guys. You can turn on your mics and cameras, and you can say whatever you want in terms of a response.
Hey, Eric, we need to clarify something because people twist your words, okay? And it sounds like you just said it's okay to follow Talmud. But I know you don't believe that. But St. Joe's going to say, I know you're trying to define the word Talmud, but that's different than following Babylonian rabbinical Talmud, correct?
Sure. I'm saying that every word can mean a number of different things. The word lamed or Talmud means to be a disciple, means walk in the ways that he taught. So if Yahweh says to Moshe, tell Aaron and his sons and teach my people to walk in the ways as a disciplined disciple, that's the word Talmud. And if somebody says, didn't he tell us in the Torah to regard the Talmud, to regard the teachings of your elders, which tell you how to walk in his ways? Yeah, sure they did. But is that the Talmud of great fame, the Mishnah, the Gaverna of that came inherited through Jewish rabbinical teachings? Well, some of their teachings might be right, but some of their teachings may not be right. So if you just say the Talmud, like the Encyclopedia Britannica, well, gosh, there's millions of words in there. I don't know which ones are fake news and which ones are true. Be specific. What did he say? So no, I'm saying Talmud is a word that means something. It's not just a collection of teachings and writings from people who are guessing and quoting others and thinking and pondering and coming up with, quite often, maybe like the rest of us, a bunch of screwball notions.
Cool, man. Thank you. Does anybody else have something they want to join in on? If not, I want to ask Mark to turn on his camera and to send prayer. Or Paul, if you're here. Go ahead. Sorry.
Eric, I would have like a thought, but at the same time, it's a question, because as we do know, when I listen to this, I cannot stop myself from comparing it to the Christianity, this mentality, name it, claim it, and or even the new age, you know, the power of positive thinking. And many people right now are saying it, you know, they're saying we just have to believe, you know, like those bears that that they had power just by believing in this energy, so they're going to win against those evil guys and all. And I don't know, my thought on this is that it's like putting a truth, which this is the truth, the power of the words and the beliefs that we have, as you're saying. But if it's not on the right God, I might say, if it's on a dead God, I think they're aiming for big trouble. Yet this truth is still the same. You know, what do you think?
Exactly. Well put. I would say that Yod He Vav He. Remember, declare Yod He Vav He with your voice.
Exactly.
You need to know who he is, what he said, what the terms of the relationship are with a very specific people. It's not just people in general. It's not just with humanity. God loves you and has a wonderful plan for your life. Yeah, I'm going to kill you. That's what he said if you walk not in his ways. In fact, we even read that a couple of weeks ago. That's what he said. Yeah, that's his wonderful plan. But the plan is for Israel. I'm going to be your Elohim. You're going to be my people. You're going to listen to my voice, walk in my ways with a heart. Listen to his voice with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mayod, with all your with all your passion, and know him and what he said. It's not based on our conjecture or our surmising. It's what did he say? And you must learn to read every letter of every word to know what that is. Hey, Paul Bari's on. What do you got to say, Paul? I see
Paul's here to close us out in prayer.
Yahuwah. Yahuwah. Oh, Yahuwah. Thank you, Father, for keys, heavenly keys, that we may enter into your presence and knowledge of understanding through your Aleph Tav. Thank you for the confession and revelations of Yahuwah's salvation. I am the Aleph Tav. Thank you, Father, for giving us the impetuousness to dig for understanding. And Father, we thank you for those constellations whereby maybe we need to learn to navigate better than we have as sailors did. Father, I just thank you for this time together. It's revolutionary. We'll be all changed for hearing these words tonight. Yahuwah. Oh, Yahuwah. Amen.
Hallelujah.
Amen and amen and amen. Yahuwah is mighty.
Hallelujah.
All right, brothers and sisters, I got to go. Shalom. It's great seeing you guys. Thanks, Eric.
victory is sure. Victory.
Yes.
Hallelujah.
Amen. So
Yes.
the Diane, are you still here?
Hallelujah.
All right. The after show begins.